This is Peniel Joseph, who's founding director of Center for the Study of Race and Democracy. And I have the pleasure to be with Senator Fred Harris, former senator of Oklahoma, who's the last surviving member of the Kerner Commission, the President's National Advisory on Civil Disorders. And Senator Harris, what I want to talk to you about today is the civil rights movement, the Kerner report. Why is that report so important 50 years later, and why does it continue to resonate for so many people in our time?
Well, what we said back then was what we still say. People need a living wage, they need jobs, they need free education from early childhood to through college, and all these things that majority of people are for, but our government isn't. And so we've got to organize ourselves across race lines, gender lines, any kind of lines, to see that we're all in this thing together. And if we work together and make a coalition, we're a majority, and we can take back our government.
Now, can you tell me briefly, you tell a great story of how you're the one who really suggested and proposed the actual Kerner Commission to President Lyndon Johnson. And he asked you to be on the commission. When you think about 1967, you also said that when you and John Lindsay went into cities like Cincinnati, you were really taken aback by looking at the segregation and the poverty. Can you discuss how that impacted you?
Well, John as mayor, and I was on, with Robert Kennedy, I was on the so-called Rubikoff Committee. We were already looking into the problems of the cities and race and poverty. So this wasn't a surprise to us, the kind of wretched conditions of poverty and harsh racism, the hostility toward the police, which was justified largely. And but we put faces on it. We saw actual people. We walked these streets and we talked to the people who are living in these terrible conditions. And that, I think, gave us a deeper understanding, all the members of the commission, than just, say, reading reports or whatever.
So when you think about policy transformation, it means that elected officials and public servants also need empathy?
That's right, absolutely. And I think all of us do and would if we really knew what the facts are. You know, there's still people, I think, that say, well, civil rights, I thought we settled all that. Or poverty, you know, maybe they think, like I saw a cartoon in New Yorker once that said, two old guys were talking, one said, well, we had a war on poverty, and he said, yeah, but poverty won. Well, it didn't. The war on poverty really reduced poverty significantly, but then we quit doing it, and the will of the country changed, and I think a lot of people don't realize that poverty, that we have millions more poor people today than we had then, and poverty today is harder to get out of. It's deeper for those who are poor, and the racial and ethnic discrimination is worsening in schools and housing or resegregated. All of that, we've got to somehow help people come to know that, and to know that what we tried worked. We just didn't try it hard enough, or we quit trying.
Now, I have two final questions. One is that the Kerner Commission and your commission famously used the phrase white racism.
Yes.
White racism was implicated in the ghetto, had maintained the ghetto, was responsible for the ghetto, black poverty, racial injustice.
Right.
I think it was a very bold decision to speak that kind of truth to power. What do you think about using those words then, and how would you think about white racism now, 50 years later?
I think it's important that we do use that word, and media too, because oppressed people come to have often the same bad stereotypes about themselves that the dominant society has, and they tend to internalize it. For example, way back in Oklahoma when I was there, we began to interview young Indian kids, American Indians, and that was true. I remember a young Indian woman, she was in high school, and smart, obviously, but she said to us, I don't believe that Indians are capable of winning slavery. She said, I never knew an Indian that made good grades. Well, what we wanted to say, that's why we said, let's just say straight out that there's a problem of white racism in this country, because we wanted young black kids particularly to know, you're not crazy. Don't internalize this. There's a system, and what we're talking about is not where one white person hates black people or whatever. We're talking about the whole structure of the system that has created this kind of harsh racism, and it's the system that we've got to change. And, you know, there are too many people that, for example, get up in the morning in upstate New York, I mean not upstate, but up north of New York City. They live in all-white neighborhoods. They send their kids to all-white schools. They ride the train down with all white people to a place to work where most of the people they're working with are white, and they don't see anything odd about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't occur to them. And somebody just said that to me a while ago. Well, you know, it just struck me, duh, racism. Well, we want people to see that this is still with us, and it's not good for the rest of us. And doing something about it is good for the rest of us. It's good for all of us.
And final question, Senator Harris, where do we go from here? What can we do now, 50 years? You know, you've got a new book out, you know, healing our racial divide and healing our divided nation, and investing in the Kerner report 50 years later. Given all that's happening right now, we think about Black Lives Matter, we think about the Dreamers, Me Too, youth marches against gun violence, and it all seems to come back down to race and economic injustice. What can we do now?
Well, I grew up, I was born in a two-room house in a little town of Walters, Oklahoma, where no black people lived. I think at one time they weren't allowed legally to live there. No black people lived there. And I've seen a lot harder times, a lot worse times in regard to poverty and racism than now. And I've seen a lot of movements come from the grassroots that have changed things. The women's movement, the anti-Vietnam War movement, the civil rights movement. They didn't start at the top. They started out there with the people. That's what we're trying to do now, spread the word. We need activists, scholars like yourself. Everybody's got a role to play, spreading the word, letting people know what the conditions are, and that we know how to get out of this. We know what works. All we got to do is join together, and in coalition, we don't have to love each other. I wish we would. All we have to do is recognize we have common interests, and that if we get ourselves together, we're mature and we can do these things that need to be done, and then it's in our own self-interest to do it.
Thank you. That's the final word. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
You bet.